A lot of people do worry that the fracking industry is not well enough regulated. There's been criticism of Pennsylvania saying that one of the reasons you have so much of it is maybe your regulations are not strong enough. There's comparisons to New York, which is still studying some of this. Talk to us about Pennsylvania's regulations. Would you make the case that they are strong, or do we need some sort of federal oversight over this? And there's been a discussion of that, about the EPA stepping in and having more of a role.
Well, Kim, I always believe that the states are the laboratories of democracy, and the states have a greater interest in what is going to be in the best interest of their own individual residents and businesses. And at the same time, last year, we passed an Act 13, our Marcellus Shale legislation, that really did three aspects. It talked about regulation, it talked about the impact on the communities, and it also talked about an impact fee and zoning that would protect those areas. On the regulation side, we now have the toughest regulations, environmental regulations, in the country. And we are certainly interested in making sure that we protect our citizens. We have increased the number of inspectors there by a multiple of 2 to 2.2. We're over 200 inspectors going out and inspecting those wells on a regular basis across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. These are people who live in those neighborhoods, who are going to be interested in making sure that the neighborhood is good for themselves and their families, as well as for the people around. I also understand from having been the Attorney General here in Pennsylvania, having been in the business section in a regulated industry for 4 years, that when we regulate an industry that has permits, one of the best ways to get the attention of the industry, to make sure that they're following the rules, is the ability to take an action against their permit if they don't behave, if they're cutting corners, if somebody downstream is doing something they're not supposed to do. It's in the interest of that company to make sure it's being done the right way, or they lose the access to that natural gas.
I mean, is that a worry out there? Because some people do think, and I've talked to people even in the industry, who think that maybe the biggest threat to this moving ahead is that you will have an industry that does break the rules, that will end up being some sort of an accident or a spill or something, give it a bad reputation. What is the biggest threat, if any, to a sort of fracking movement going forward? Is it abuse of standards by the industry? Is it overall broader regulations against this? Is it price? Or do you just see this moving inevitably ahead?
Well, there's always going to be an accident in industry. I think the most important thing that an industry can do is to try and limit those number of accidents. Sometimes they're going to be natural accidents. Hurricanes, as you know, certainly have an effect on the refining industry and so forth. But the best thing that industry can do is have the highest standards they possibly can have. And as you know, recently there was an agreement among a number of the industry, including Shell and Chevron, Consol, EQT here in Western Pennsylvania, along with the environmentalists, to come up with certain standards that they should have to meet, higher than what the standards of the federal government are and what they are at the state level. I think that's good when industry is willing to self-regulate itself. But you know that mistakes are going to happen. What we've looked for, what we required, for instance, in the Marcellus Shale, is that rather than, as one time we had to wait for somebody to respond to a spill that had to be brought in from Texas, we said that they have to have those kind of people who know how to respond to that spill here in Pennsylvania. Now we have the ability to have first responders to spills able to be on scene within 2 hours of anywhere in Pennsylvania where the natural gas is. Those are learning experiences. There are accidents. We had a spill recently that was completely contained within the containment area. And 2 years ago, it would have made much more news in the paper than it did this time. I think it was last week or the week before. I forget now. Time goes by so quickly. And to see the difference in the reporting demonstrates to me that people are starting to learn that the industry is wanting to do the right thing. there are always going to be some people in any industry that take shortcuts. They can't take the shortcuts, and we're trying to make sure that if they take shortcuts, that they're going to receive a severe punishment, that it's not in their best interest and certainly not in their financial interest to continue to do that.